You've tuned in to the show that celebrates life and all that makes it special. Sports, music, you, and of course, an ice-cold beer or a glass of your favorite wine. And now, today's story.
Parents, if you have a child with a talent for sports, you'll want to listen to our two-part series on how sports is dominated by money at every level, from youth to pros. I'm Ralph, and I invite you to join Rick and Paul, one having a multi-talented three-sports son, and the other a son who lost interest in sports at a young age, as we discuss the effect sports and money can have on kids and their families. And now, here's my conversation with Rick and Paul. Hey everybody, welcome to Life, Sports, Music, and Beer. And I'm excited to be here today. I'm here with my co-host, Rick, the Vanilla Gorilla. Say hi, Rick.
Hey, what's up, fellas?
Oh man, Rick, it's always good to talk to you. And we have a very special guest today, Paul Anthony. Paul, you there?
Guys, I'm right here. How you guys doing?
There you go, big guy. Paul's in St. Louis. Rick is in Ohio.
Yep.
And I'm in sunny South Florida. Great weather, guys. This is
It
beautiful.
got about 70 today,
Yeah,
so it's pretty good
today.
here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
You can't pull that shit on us today. We're good.
Not
Me and
today.
Ryan, we're good today. Yeah.
Yeah, why don't you call
I'm
me in the
wearing
next
shorts
couple of
today,
days
so
when you
we're
guys
good.
have 6 inches of snow
Then I
and
get
I'm
mad
next
at
to the
you.
pool, okay?
Yes.
Yeah, I got
What
you.
does this red button do where it says hang up? How does
Yeah.
that work?
It's a mute button for Ralph. It's a great one.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I wish.
All right, that's enough.
Great.
Settle down. I got jeez, I can't handle you guys. I'm just going to
That
sit
backfired
back.
on you, didn't it?
I know, man. Everything's backfiring on me nowadays.
Uh,
Anyway, everybody, welcome. And we have a great topic for you today. We're going to talk about sports and money and how it relates to kids. So if you're a parent and you have a child and you're thinking about or they are involved in sports, you might want to listen to this because, I mean, there's so much crap out there and these kids are just bombarded. We want to try to put things in perspective for you, okay? So you're going to hear 3 spectrums here. I've got grandkids. I'm 71. I've got a ton of grandkids. My kids, some of my kids were great in sports when they were younger, so I can give you a glimpse of what it was way back in the 70s and 80s and the mindset. Paul has a young boy, Tommy, he's 14. He's not into sports. I mean, he tried sports and stuff. He'll tell you that story. And then you got Rick, who has a stud for a son, who's basically an all-around player, 3 sports. And he is, his future's looking pretty good as far as sports. But you're going to get something from Rick. I mean, you're going to get a whole new mindset that you might want to listen to, folks, if you have a kid. So anyway, let's get started. Rick, if you have opening comments, man, let's go with it. So we're talking about kids and money and sports.
Yeah, I think the main thing I would tell folks out there, stop specializing your kids. It's the number one thing I would tell you out there going through it. I played all 3 in high school. We went to Michigan camp 3 times. My son did, won some MVPs under back itch in baseball. And the number one thing he said, and I had to just nudge my son like, see, Dad isn't an idiot, was stop specializing your kids because they get burned out. I did. I got burned out of baseball when I went down to Wright State. I didn't want to play anymore, period. I was over it.
And you were a catcher. You were a good player.
I was a good catcher. Yeah. And you just get burned out. Sometimes you all your spring breaks are revolved around baseball. You go with the team spring break while your other friends are going to Florida, Mexico, doing their things. You never have an outside life. And then when you get to college, you're like, oh shit, now this has become a job. You know, I thought I was escaping it. You're not at all. So sometimes the kids just want freedom. So don't specialize them. They talk about putting them in every sport they can play so they can be a competitor, use different muscles, different skill sets. But the one thing he said was he wants guys that are competitive. That's what Bakich said. So 3 sports teaches them to be competitors. They're always wanting to win. And it's just different. I mean, you go from one season to a different one. It's a totally different game. It's different teammates. Everything's different. But I would say stop specializing them. Don't pay the thousands of dollars to put them in showcases where it's not going to do a whole lot, to be completely honest. I don't care what you can do in the tunnel. I want to see what you do against a number 1 pitcher. I don't care about can you hit a fastball at 92 in a cage. I really could care less.
All right, I want to bring you back. Let me. I want to bring Paul in because I think Paul's gonna. He brings another perspective to this thing, and that is to someone whose child has had an interest in sports at a young age, but he just got away from it at a young age. So Paul, what I know. Tell us a little bit about Tommy and what
Well,
age he was. I think he started playing hockey, right? Was it hockey or?
yeah,
Okay, tell us a little bit
but
about that.
a little bit. I want to agree with Rick on this. When I was growing up, I only played one sport. I played soccer my whole life, and I have the bad knees to prove it. I wish I would have done baseball or hockey or some other sport. I did it, for fun. I played wiffle ball a lot in the backyard and everything. So, I mean, there's that.
Sure.
But yeah, you need to get these kids into more different sports. Get them off the screen. They don't need to be on the screen if they play one sport or whatever. But yeah, I completely agree with what Rick said that, I wish I would have done that. Looking back, that's one thing that I would love to go back and change in my life.
Sure.
Well,
But
let me ask you something, guys. Let me just throw
yeah.
this out at you, Paul. I'll throw this out at you, and then Rick can have a chance to respond. My feeling is that sports has taken on such a huge part of our lives, and I'm talking about since I was a kid. And it's gotten bigger. I have figures to prove it. The billions of dollars. The industry has turned into a multi-billion-dollar business. My feeling is it's shoved down our throats as the save all to kids and just about every parent I know wants their kid to be a pro player, whether it's tennis, whether it's golf, whether it's don't you think that it's just overdone, Paul? I mean, tell us about Tom, because I know Tommy one day.
I'm guilty of it too. I was upstairs teaching my son about the Cardinals and everything, like a good parent in St. Louis would do. We were playing baseball in our living room, and I kept telling him, no, if you ever want to get serious about this, you will never play for the Cubs.
Nice.
But I mean, I don't know if
That's funny.
other fathers do that, but that could be something where people are ingraining in their kids at a very young age. He might have been 4 or 5 or whatever, but should I have done it? Probably not. But
do you think something you said could have contributed to him getting turned off on sports, or he's just not
I don't
sports?
know. Or it could have been something that Tammy, my wife, and I are such big Cardinal fans and love the Blues and all that stuff that maybe he just wasn't interested in it. And and we both, Tammy and I both played sports when we were younger. So, I don't get it. I mean, he's happy doing what he's doing. I don't question it too much anymore. So
Sure.
it would be nice to have the hockey player kid, have the baseball player kid, but we have some neighbors down the street who they have 2 kids, a 13-year-old girl and a 16-year-old son. He's high school. He's just doing football now. The daughter, God love her, she's a fantastic person, a great athlete. She's playing hockey. She's playing softball. She's playing lacrosse, I think.
Nice.
And I mean, they're always talking about how, they're going here, they're going there, and all this place. And I'm like, I look at my wife like, we're boring. We go to the living room and watch TV after we eat. That's our life. But is it a simpler life? Are we happier? Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Our son's happy doing what he's doing.
Sure.
Their kids are happy doing what they're doing. So I think all's good.
Yeah, Rick, that's a great point because I don't ever remember, and my life was sports back years ago when I was a young man that I got married.
Mm-hmm.
I owned the first sporting goods stores in South Florida. I basically controlled the sporting goods industry in South Florida. This was before Sports Authority and stuff like that. But I don't ever remember shoving sports down my kid's neck. It's his throat. What's your feeling? When did Bryce, tell me how Bryce got started in all this?
It's become more of a business, Ralph, unfortunately. Back then, and I'll use a perfect example, but as far as when Bryce got started, we knew he was something. I mean, his skill set was stupid when he was like 2 and 3 years old, swinging little souvenir bats from a Clippers game and hitting shit. And he's just got his dad's, I mean, he's got that you can't teach the intellect that he has on a field or on a court or anything like that. You know how some kids just get it. It's court sense, it's field sense. They see stuff that other people don't. That's how I was. It's that's why I wanted to catch, because you saw everything. You were the field. You were the general of the field. Like I told Mancella, you're the only one that never has his back to the ball on the baseball field. You're the only one that sees every play in front of you. So it's just innate. But going back to what you were saying, I think the perfect example is when I was in high school, I was getting recruited at high school games, and American Legion was our travel ball, right? Now, no scouts come to high school games. It's all AAU. It's all travel baseball. It's all these giant events, these PBR events, and all of that. Nobody comes to high school to recruit. If they're coming as recruiters to your high school, it's because they're local. So it's like D3 schools or OUs or
why is that, Rick?
Ohio Wesleyan, stuff like that. I don't know why it is, because it became all about the biometrics. Basically, your spin rate, your velo off your bat, your exit velo. I'm like, Bryce, if you listen to that crap, then Tom Glavine and Maddox would have never been in the Hall of Fame ever. Ever. I said, you give me a pitcher that throws 89 and can hit my glove everywhere I put it, they'll be in the Hall of Fame, just like Glavine and Maddox, period. I go, I don't care if you touch 95 in your lifetime. If you have 3 pitches that you can throw for strikes, you're going to make it. I promise you on that.
Yeah.
So that's what I've taught him as a catcher's perspective. And that's why me and Jim were talking about a catcher can ruin a pitcher. A bad catcher will ruin a pitching staff in a heartbeat. So, but yeah, as far as the makeup of youth sports now, it's different. Little league used to be fun and stuff. Now it's competitive. And, if your son doesn't make a team, then instead of us making them get better or telling them or challenging them, we just create another one. And that's how it is in these towns. You'll have 15 travel teams and you'll wonder why. Well, that's why, because daddy's son didn't make it, and he went off and started another one with the kids that didn't make it. That's not helping them.
Well, guys, yeah. I'm telling you, just some of the stuff you're saying to me just brings back a lot of memories. But I think things have changed. Remember that song by Bob Dylan, "The Times They Are A-Changin'"?
They are changing.
Yeah, they are.
Things have changed. I looked up. Let me give you some statistics, because to me, there's one reality in life that none of us can dispute, and that is that I've said this to everybody that I know, and nobody's ever been able to give me an answer. And here's the thing I post to them: give me one decision that you make on a daily basis, from the moment you awake to the moment you go fall asleep, that is not in one way or another somehow related to money. Nobody has ever been able to give me one. The smallest decision you make every day: brush your teeth, don't brush your teeth. If you're going to brush your teeth, you're spending money. You flush the toilet, you spend. It's all about money. Yeah. And it's gotten worse as we go along. I've got some figures here. I'm just going to throw these out at you real quickly. And I want to get your guys' take on this, because I believe that most parents live their sports dreams through their kids. Right? Would you agree with that?
That's
Paul, right?
Yeah.
Right?
I would. Yeah.
Okay. So here's some figures, just how this whole thing has turned into money. The hockey, professional hockey, is a $4.37 billion industry. This is per year. Basketball, $6.41 billion. Baseball, $11 billion a year. And football, listen to this, $16 billion in 2019. It went down in 2020 because of the COVID thing.
Yep.
Now, just a few months ago, the NFL signed a new media rights agreement with CBS, NBC, Fox, ESPN, and Amazon, worth over $110 billion over 11 years. That's like over $10 billion a year. So Goodell is now projecting the NFL to reach the $25 billion mark by the year 2025. Yeah. This is all about money. So here's the thing. How many of these kids, Rick, actually make it to the pros?
In baseball, the number was like 2% of, or maybe 1% of every kid that starts in Little League out of those thousands will end up. And mind you, remember, Major League has like 4 or 5 minor leagues. So that's
Right.
out of all of that, it's like 1%.
Yeah, I'm talking about the show. Let me give you some statistics, and I'll throw this out at you. This is baseball. Less than 11 in 100, or about 10.5% of NCAA senior male baseball players get drafted by Major League Baseball. Approximately 1 in 200, that's 0.5%, half a percent of high school senior boys playing interscholastic baseball will eventually be drafted by an MLB team.
And the ones that do get drafted and do get to play major leagues, they're one injury away from it being completely done.
I am so glad you said that.
That's it.
So what are we doing here with these kids? We're putting you're putting this whole burden on them. And then, like you said, they don't concentrate on their studies. So what happens if they get injured, like Paul just said? What happens if they don't make it? They spend their entire life. What's your take on that, Rick?
Well, I had a friend that was very, very much in that boat. Should have won the Heisman Trophy, played at Penn State, Kajana Carter, went on to the Cincinnati Bengals and blew his knee out. Rookie year. And now they call him one of the biggest busts of the NFL, which I'm like, I don't understand how an injury can be a bust, by the way. I've never understood that concept. If you were that highly ranked and you were shit when you came to the NFL, that's a bust. You know, when you blow out your knee, that's not a bust. But he was smart enough that, you know, with his signing bonus and everything, he took care of his family right away. And then he just went off his name. And now he's doing, I think he's down in Tampa area. But yeah, that's why when we were talking off, you know, before the show, why I'm stressing grades to my son. You know, he's got an unbelievable mind. He's good with numbers, and that'll take him a long way. But I go, you need to keep those grades up. And you need to look at a school when you do want to play baseball for that they have a program that you like that's going to mean something. Your degree is going to mean something, because I know you're going to throw numbers out there later about how long they last in the league, even if they make it. So he better have a backup program.
But what's your rationale behind that? Is it so he should get an education to help him get through and get through college?
He should get an education, because that is going to be his career. I'm not going to tell my son ever he can't do it, because that's not going to be a word in his vocabulary. He's going to shoot for that. And that's his number one goal. If he can't get there, then he can't get there, but he's going to give it everything he's got to do it. But he will always have a solid B program there. Like you said, Ralph, though, you know, you don't want to have a B program, but when you're shooting for the stars in Major League Sports, I think it's smart to have a B program. So, degrees aren't what they used to be. I totally get that. But he's got a good head on his shoulders, and he's taking accelerated classes already at sophomore. So I like his path. He's going to be successful either way in my book. So, but like you said, I think it's just smart for these kids to get your grades in order, man. Make sure they're in order. Have options.
But I think most parents,
and when the percentages are so low of kids who can make it to the big leagues, any sport,
right?
You know, why not have a good education? Why not have a good plan to fall back on? And you know, these careers don't last forever. What do you do after your career? I mean, only an even smaller percentages of those star athletes make it into broadcasting after their careers.
You got that right.
I mean, what do you do after that? I mean, 100 million only lasts for so long, I guess.
That's funny, and Paul's exactly right, though. Take a look at the history of the NBA over the last 15 years on how many players that we knew growing up that had all the money in the world filed bankruptcy in the last 15.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They don't know what they're doing with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, I got my take on that, because I think a lot of agents just take advantage of these kids. These kids know nothing, like you said. They have no education. They don't know anything about numbers. They don't know anything about economics.
That's on the NBA too. Their number one hire shouldn't be an agent. It should be a financial advisor. That should be their number one hire.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, and Paul, it's funny you should say that, because I've got the statistics here for the average careers. I'll just throw this out very quickly. Football, 3.3 years. We're talking professional level. The average, you know, there's some that'll play 15, 20 years.
Sure, but then you have some that only play a year or two. So that's why it all averages out. Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, football 3.3, baseball 5.6 years, basketball 4.5, hockey 5, tennis 16. I love it. And golf 20 to 30 years.
Yeah, exactly.
so I'm telling my grandson, stick with the golf, dude. Stick
That's
with it.
right.
You'll be playing till you're 75. You know what I'm talking about? You know? But you see,
Make
Paul,
our
And you get to travel the world too.
That's
and there you
true.
go.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. So, Paul, I see someone like Tommy, your son. You know, let me throw this out at you. I think that these athletes nowadays, they're revered as almost like heroes and gods.
Mhm.
Or, you know, I think we've got everything all screwed up, dude. The real heroes are those people that are never heralded every day. I mean, just for example, Paul, what does Tommy like to do? I know the Minecraft, but where do you think? What does he talk about? What do you think his goal in life is, if he has one?
He wants to be an architect. He is, and my brother-in-law got him hooked on roller coasters, and he loves going on roller coasters. He has, I don't know what he has on his computer, what program he has that he's building these computers, kind of like a Sim City maybe kind of thing from when we were younger. But I mean,
Yeah.
he's building these. Has a huge interest in this, and we're like, okay, great, you have something that you want to do. That is fine. And in the back of my mind, I'm thinking it's probably going to change a couple times because I mean, what I wanted to do when I was a freshman was be a
Right.
math teacher, and I can't stand math anyway. But you know, he has this drive now that he wants to do that, and I guess he's just now realizing what all goes into it, and it's hard. I mean,
Yeah, it
it's
is.
not easy. Yeah,
It's good occupation though. That's a good one for sure.
Well, the difference is that he can do architecture as long as he wants, if he wants to.
exactly. I mean,
Whereas
there's no time frame of your career on that.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Hell, who knows? He might design the next baseball stadium for St. Louis.
There
Yeah.
you go.
No,
He
you
could.
really
He
you
could.
never know.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
You see, so there
Yeah.
has to be that balance. I think today parents, because sports is so huge, parents place so much emphasis on the sports aspect of it. Right, Rick? Do you agree? Is that something you agree with, or?
I absolutely do. I think that, and I think what you'll find is the ones that never played, the parents are the ones who push harder as far as
agree.
I hope he makes it.
Mhm.
It's because us guys have been there, done that, or tried. We know how hard it is. So we're going to give them all the support in the world. We know the
Mhm.
odds are against them, but we're going to give them that support. But we're not Earl Woods. And I think the problem with the specialization came when Tiger Woods came along. When Earl Woods specialized Tiger, and all these dads saw the retirement plans in front of them. And I thought it was the worst thing that could have happened. Love Tiger Woods, love Earl Woods, love that whole story. But that's why I'm so glad that Michigan coach emphasized to us, do not specialize. Because I think like I said, these dads see this kid at 6 years old excelling in Little League and they go, there's my ticket. No, dude, not even close.
Right.
You know, stop putting the pressure on these kids. I told Bryce his rule number one, and he'll tell you, Ralph, when he comes on. I'll yell rule one and he'll get embarrassed, but it's have fun. And I make him say it on the mound when he gets pissed off. And I'm like, tell you what, until you're getting a paycheck, this should never be a job for you, Bryce, ever. I said, that's why we don't specialize you. That's why I don't make you do this year round. You're not getting paid. You know, this shouldn't be your job. This is a game. This is fun still.
Yeah.
I said,
Well, that's
I
a great
miss high
message,
school every day. I miss high school. I'd go back in a heartbeat to have those days back and play
you said it perfect.
and have that fun.
Yeah, it's a game, and if you can't have fun with what you're doing,
Right.
then what's the point of doing it?
Then why would you want it to be your job in the first place? Yeah.
Right, exactly. I mean, that goes with, sports, with anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you hate your job, why are you doing it? It can't just
For
be
the
about
99% of people who don't make it into Major League Baseball, there's a good rule for you.
Yeah, that is great. Yeah, because it's not except for the owners, it's not the business of baseball. It's the game of baseball. It's the game of hockey.
Yep.
You know, we lose track of that.
We
And I'll tell you, it's sad. So let's talk a little bit about the risk of injury. I mean, I can think of off the top of my head some kids that had a supposedly tremendous future, and they were injured, like the guy that you said.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, his whole future's died. So if he didn't get a degree, what's he going to do, Rick? What is he going to do?
Yeah, he wouldn't have. He would have just lived off his likeness and his name, and probably in Happy Valley, because they'd be the ones who remembered him. You know, in Penn State, and he'd be a legend there. But otherwise, if he wouldn't have got his degree, he'd be screwed right now. But he's got business ventures and he's got stuff in Tampa he can fall back on because he was smart.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. I remember Nick Buoniconti? Remember his son?
Yeah. Yep.
He got paralyzed?
Got paralyzed, yeah. Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
I mean, he was supposed to be an up-and-coming star, you know. Nick
and he passed away,
son.
didn't he, from that eventually, didn't he? Nick's
you know
son, did he?
That's a good question. I don't know.
I thought he did, but yeah, that was terrible. That and Paul would remember this guy, the #1 American-born hockey player that was going to, I believe it was Boston University, and took that hit into the boards and paralyzed, and he just died 2 years ago. That was supposed to be the next big thing. Yeah, that was a few years back, but they just did a piece on him again. Terrible freshman, first start at home, and he gets tripped headfirst into the boards and lights out.
And probably terrible. Just an innocent play. I mean,
innocent play. Happens. Wasn't malicious at all. Nope, not at all. Wasn't aborting or anything like that. Just basically got tripped up going full speed and right into the boards head first.
Wow.
Ouch.
So the gist I'm getting from both
a lot in hockey. I'm sorry.
No. Yeah, no. Go ahead.
I was.
Hockey's a tough sport. Hockey's supposed to be Rick. Correct me on this, Paul. Hockey's supposed to be the roughest sport of them all.
I agree with that.
I wouldn't want to play it.
I think it's the most underpaid sport of the majors, to be honest with you. I think these guys are studs. They're absolute studs.
Mm-hmm.
They play both ways. They play offense, defense. They don't have a lot of time to rest. It's not like huddles or go sit on the sideline until your team's got the ball back. You have to be a offensive lineman. You got to be everything. A skill player. I love watching hockey.
No, dude, and the skating.
Watch. Yeah,
the skating skills.
And if somebody runs your star player, you better go up and defend them.
You better. They've taken that away a little bit, but me and you growing up on, because you're St. Louis, I'm Detroit diehard, so I grew up on Bobby Probert versus Ty Domi all the time, and that was just fantastic. I hated Probert. So, yeah.
You can tell I'm from St. Louis. I hated Probert.
Yes. He was basically Ralph. He was Steve Yzerman's bodyguard, and that's why they brought him in, period. I mean, that was Probert's job.
If you look at these hockey players without their uniforms on, I mean, you see football players, baseball players. Yes. Exactly. I mean, you see baseball players and football players who actually you can tell how big and solid these guys are. Hockey players, you can't tell that until they're wearing like a T-shirt or something.
Off. Yeah, Scott Stevens was an absolute beast.
Scott Stevens. Mm-hmm. You wouldn't think of some of these guys who are big goal scorers. That you hit them and boom, you would fall right off.
Ovechkin's a good one. Dude's a beast, and you wouldn't think it. You just see what you see on there. You see people like Ochara, who's 6'10" on skates, and you're like, good Lord.
6'10" on skates? Really?
Yeah, he's humongous. Yes.
No, he's 6'10" and
is he 6'10"? I think he's 6'10" in skates, or is he 6'11" in skates, 6'9" legit?
I think he's 6'9".
God almighty.
Yeah, that guy is a monster.
He is a monster.
Yeah,
his stick is half the ice. It looks like when he comes on the ice.
Yeah,
because he got a defenseman stick. Ralphie's huge, and Turco Rask in between the pipes is humongous. Bishop. These guys are big kids.
Yeah. All right. So most of these kids, they get through high school, and the parents trying to live their dreams through them, and the parents see them as a ticket, a financial ticket. Right? Is that the gist I'm getting from you guys?
Mm-hmm.
The parents see them as
I can show you tons of them. Come to any travel baseball tournament.
That's how I was when he was, 4 or 5 years old?
Yep.
Really? You viewed him as that? I mean, you actually thought about that?
Well, I said you will not sign with the Cubs. Well, that's kind of an indirect thing, but
it means you would sign with someone else, right? So, but you envisioned him.
But the Cubs.
Yeah. Anybody but the Cubs.
Yeah.
Unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable. I know I went through that. My just so you'll know, my son, he's a graphic artist. He's a hell of a rock musician. He can sing, he play guitar. He's just everything he touches. He was good at anything. He played basketball, he was a stud. He played hockey, he played roller hockey, goalie, he was a stud. Everything he touched. And he's the most unassuming kid you ever want to see. He played shortstop and hit a cleanup. I'll never forget this in what we call down here Curry League, which is like little league and stuff. He must have been maybe 10. And then there was a playoff game, and all the parents are going nuts, and everybody's screaming, and he is like, he's great. He hit left-handed. The kid was, I mean, he was a hitter. It was a pure, like you say, Rick, these left-handed hitters.
Left-handers come out of the womb with the perfect swing. Right-handers try their whole lives to emulate it.
Yeah, I don't know where the hell he got it from. Because, I mean, I play ball, but I sucked at it.
It's like a dog that comes from a certain breed. They just, all of a sudden you see a pointer point. The pup's never seen it before, but it just does it. That's how lefties are to me. Really? They just have the perfect plane swing. Yeah, they just know it's just natural.
Well, I'll wrap this up. He was playing shortstop, playoff game, extra innings. He comes up with the bases loaded. And everybody, remember, it's all Cuban down here.
Yeah.
They're nuts. These Cubans are nuts. And the coach is screaming at him. And he gets in, and he gets a hit, and he rounds first. The game's over. Everybody. Right. And I'm so proud of him. I'm such an asshole, and you did a great job. We're walking back to the car. 10-year-old Rick Paul, he looks at me and he says, "Dad, I don't want to play ball anymore."
Yeah.
I said, "Why?" He says, "Dad, I don't like all this screaming and, people just, I just."
Yeah. It's a good thing he's not growing up now. I mean, come on.
No kidding. Yeah.
But think about that, huh?
Good Lord.
Can you imagine? I mean, I don't think he had maybe not the talent to become but he could have gone, maybe he could have gotten a scholarship somewhere.
Sure.
But he was turned off because of that. I hate that. I hate that. Anyway, so let's take this right into college, because this is the cool part. So now you've got Bryce is in what grade now?
He's sophomore in high school. So 10th grade. Yep.
All right. So now you're looking at colleges, perhaps scouts are looking at him. So give us an insight as to what goes on, Rick, when you have someone like Bryce, who's a stud. Talk to other parents and tell them if they're in that position. Give them
number one thing I would tell any parent is stop getting these kids recruited so young. I've got friends that have had their kids recruited since they were in 8th, 9th grade. You don't even know if the head coach is going to be there in 4 years. Why are you doing that? Why? So they can brag to their friends that they got letters from blah, 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 blah. Who cares? That's their job. They're trying to get you to camps is all they're trying to do right now, is get you to a camp so they can make money off you at these camps. These camps aren't inexpensive. These showcases are a few $100s for a day or two. I mean, it's crazy what they're making. The bats themselves are insane. If you haven't seen a bat in a long time, they're going for about $500-600 a bat. Dick's has a payment installation plan for their bats now. That's how bad they've gotten. So
these are aluminum, right? Yeah. Aluminum bats.
They're 2-piece. Yeah, they're these 2 pieces. DeMarini, the Goods is the big one right now, and this Voodoo one, and any college that picks it up. My son, he's all over watching Michigan, all these college. What bat are they getting? I'm like, dude, they're also 19, 20-year-old grown-ass men. They're not 15. I go, you don't need that. Just hit the ball, man. But
so how much are these bats worth now? How much, if you were to buy a bat now for Bryce, aluminum bat?
$500. $500 to $600 is the bat price right now. I mean,
for a good one,
for top end.
Yeah.
Hey, let me share something with you guys. When I started the sporting goods store in 1975, no, seriously, I had the exclusive to Nike shoes.
I was
K-Swiss back then. No. Easton bats were introduced then. And I was the first one to have, and I remember the aluminum bats, and every single kid wanted an aluminum, but they were something like $39.
I know.
Yeah.
$500. What are you kidding me?
I said, we're in the wrong business, man. I should have been a textbook writer for college, because those change every year, because all they do is just flip a chapter to a different spot and say, you have to buy a new one. Or I should have been a bat creator, because even softball, in slow pitch softball, the bat's illegal the next year. They're smarter than hell. It's a giant racket. It's just a racket.
Well, let me ask. I've always wanted to ask somebody this, and I've never asked them. Why aluminum bats in college, and then in pro they got to go back?
Because pitchers would be dead. Pitchers would be dead. If Aaron Judge hit an aluminum bat And you've already seen some of these pitchers take shots off their jaw. Imagine what another 15, 20 miles an hour velo off of their bats would do to somebody's face if it hit a pitcher.
So why aluminum bats? I know the answer to this.
I don't
why
even know
aluminum bats
why
in
they do it
college?
in college, honestly. They should
tell
have
you why.
outlawed that a long time ago, though.
I can tell you why. The money.
Money. Money.
Oh,
Because
it's all about money.
DeMarino's a sponsor. DeMarino's a sponsor of a lot of jerseys in college and a lot of college programs.
Yeah.
Nike, all them, they don't have wooden bats. Not last time I checked, they don't. Nike and Demo don't. You know, that's all Louisville Sluggers contract pretty much with the MLB.
Yeah.
They have 2 or 3 different kinds of bat producers for wood, but there's not a lot.
That's a good thing about Tommy wanted to be an architect. He can buy a pen for like $5.
There you go.
Right?
Yes.
Make a shitload of money.
Dad's
Oh,
probably
my
happy he doesn't have to pay for that hockey equipment anymore.
Damn
That's
straight.
a rough sport for equipment, bro. I know that.
Then he wanted to be a goalie. I'm like, no, we're not doing it.
Oh, yes.
No.
All right, so college. Let's take you back a little bit before. I know this was, you guys probably weren't even around yet. Before 1983, my research shows me that back then colleges and conferences were not allowed to compete outside their conference. Do you guys remember that? Did you ever read anything about that?
You know,
Vaguely
when
remember that.
I was probably 10 in 83.
Okay.
I don't
Would you-
remember it too
Right.
specific, but I can believe that 100%.
All right. Let me just give you some numbers here. In 2019, the NCAA generated $19 billion simply on football and basketball.
I believe it.
$19 billion, guys. That's a shitload of money.
Yeah, it is.
So before 1983, college schools and conferences, like I said, they couldn't compete with schools. And then back then there was only 2 networks and they could televise the games. So there wasn't much money involved.
Right.
Then, and here's what's interesting. In 1983, the U.S. Supreme Court, there was a case before them. It was the NCAA sued the Board of Regents because the Board of Regents were the ones that set the rules that said you can't compete with teams outside of your conference. Okay.
Gotcha.
So the NCAA sued the Board of Regents, and the U.S. Supreme Court said that yes, they could. They could not restrict them. In other words, that's the free trade clause. In other words, there's a clause that says you can't restrict someone from conducting business across state lines. You see what I'm saying? So, and as a result of that, and I'm reading from my notes here, some research that I did, it jumped from 2 networks to 15 networks, and they started televising every single college game.
Yeah.
And that's where this thing just
That's
exploded.
where the money blew up. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
College football games. Listen to this. College football championship games alone, just the it generates about $500 million a year. Just that one game.
Wow.
So conferences were realigned. Basketball had 350 Division I schools. Football had 130 Division I schools. And then, of course, they came up with a new playoff system, which back then started to generate the first year $2.8 billion, guys. That's a hell of a lot of money.
Just the first year of the college playoffs?
College
That's right.
football
Yes,
playoffs.
Let's run a short clip here, a real short clip we're going to run that'll give you some. So you say, where does that money go? That's a lot of money. $2.8 billion back then. That's a hell of a lot of money now. So the question is, so where did that money go? This short clip will give you an idea.
The phrase they use in economics is rent-seeking behavior.
This is my colleague Joe Nocera, a Bloomberg opinion writer and author who's been delving into the inequalities of college sports for more than a decade.
That means money has to go somewhere.
And with Division I basketball and football being the lion's share of where the revenue comes from, the money goes straight back into those programs.
Where's it going to go? It goes to the administrators, it goes to the conference commissioners, it goes to the coaches, it goes to the assistant coaches, it goes to the weight coaches, it goes to these fancy buildings, it goes to a new football stadium.
Nick Saban makes north of $5.5 million a year. Very simply, is he worth it to the University of Alabama?
Nick Saban's the best financial investment this university has ever made.
About 45 of the 50 states where either the basketball coach or the football coach is the highest paid state employee.
However, there is one place that money does not go.
Okay, guys, so we're back. You watch that clip. So the question then, Rick and Paul, where does all that money go? And as you heard on the clip, it goes to administrators, conference commissioners, coaches, assistant coaches, you name it, fancy buildings, new football stadiums, and all that stuff. Now, you guys saw that clip. Tell me what your take is on Nick Saban, on the comments on Nick Saban making, what is he making, like $5.5 million a year?
5.5, yeah.
5.5.
I mean,
Paul, what's your take on that?
It's the greatest hire ever. I mean, look at Alabama's constantly in the top 5, top 2. I mean, who wouldn't want to go play for him?
Don't you think it's almost like a monopoly that he's got? I mean,
almost, yes.
Aren't you like sick of that? Aren't you?
Yes.
I'm sick of seeing
that. I don't
Alabama.
like Tom Brady so damn good.
Yeah. Can't stand
Tom,
anybody that's good, right?
Though. That's man crush for me. That's off limits there. I love me some Tom. As a Lions fan, it's all I got is to be a Michigan fan and live through Tom. So
See, that's right. When I think of the Lions, I only think of one guy.
To
me, to me, because I'm not a huge football fan like you, I think of the Detroit Lions. Paul, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you hear Detroit Lions?
Barry Sanders.
That's what I would say. Yeah.
If I had to pick one football player to start a team around, I'd pick Barry Sanders.
Okay.
That guy to me was. You seen the highlights?
He's the most explosive, most exciting player ever to watch.
That was incredible. And there's been some great ones.
There has been. I mean, Jim Brown was a beast. I'm not going to lie, but my argument always on that, since we're going on a quick tangent, is you put Barry Sanders behind Emmitt Smith's line in Dallas for that many years and see what numbers he put up.
Oh my God!
It would have been insane compared to.
Would have broken every record. Yeah.
Yeah.
Agreed. So Rick, let me take you back. Nick Saban. He's making $5.5 million a year. I can't blame him for making. God bless him for making.
I think he's underpaid.
Money.
If you want my opinion, for what he brings that state, he's underpaid.
Yeah.
What is he going to do? Say no? Give me less money? I mean,
right? Exactly. Yeah, he's underpaid. He's bringing in that state a ton of money. They are known for the Crimson Tide. Period. You don't think of Alabama and think anything else right now.
Did you hear the comment from the guy? He said, "This is the guy from Alabama." He said, "Nick Saban is the best financial investment Alabama has ever made."
No doubts about that.
That's a huge statement.
That's huge. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes.
Right?
And truth.
And then there was one guy who's heavily involved in that, and he said that of the 50 states, 45 of them, their basketball and football coaches are the highest paid state employees.
That's insane, but it's so true. So true.
Yeah. You see?
But I see where you're going with this. That's exactly right, though. That's what this has become, a giant business.
A giant business. And they don't give a crap about these owners. And I can't blame the owners either. See, a lot of people say, well, the owners are a bunch of assholes. The players, I can't blame either one of them. The players for wanting to get more and the owners for wanting to pay less because they own a business. This is what capitalism is.
They've created this monster. They allowed this monster to breathe and to continue to grow, and they put no cap on it. And now we're here where we're at right now.
Mm-hmm. Let me show you another clip. I want to get your take on this. Let's run this clip.
Of course you can afford to pay the players. You've just chosen not to.
For years, the NCAA has made two main arguments. The first,
well, they are paid. We're here to educate them, help them grow as people. We're not here to help them in terms of their financial gain.
The second being that paying players would take away from college sports' quote, spirit of amateurism. And some people do agree with those sentiments, even some of the players.
Hey guys, so you just watched that clip. I got to tell you, I can't help but chuckle at this thing, So here's the thing, well, can university afford to pay the players? Are you shitting me? With all this money they're making, you talk about slavery. These kids are basically slaves to them. You can't even give them a meal. If someone found out that they were someone,
outside
fed
of
them
the university, correct?
Outside it,
yep.
Unbelievable. So anyway, here's the NCAA's two arguments against paying their athletes. And I know you're going to love this. Number one, they're paid by way of education. In other words, we are paying them. We're just paying them by education. Now, Rick, I don't know, Paul, what your stance. You know what? I'm going to get Paul's stance on this first.
Okay. All
because
right.
you and I think we're going to go at it here.
We're
get that
definitely going at it.
Okay.
I'm just
Oh,
waiting.
yeah.
I'm going to sit back. I got some popcorn over here. I'm here for the show, baby.
All right, so
Yes.
Paul, let me get your thoughts on that. This is what the NCAA. Hey, we do pay them. We just pay them, by allowing them to go to school, get an education. What's your take on that?
I'm a little afraid. I mean, yeah, that's what they're there for. I mean, it's college. They're there to learn. I mean, playing football, basketball, whatever is their God-given talent that they're just learning how to do better to graduate to the upper echelon and into the major leagues.
That's it.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
That's your argument.
Yeah.
That's it, Paul.
Okay.
That's all you got.
I love it.
That's all you got.
You know,
Him. Don't worry, I've
keep-
got his back. So, see, this really went against you again, Ralph. I mean, you've tried to set us up twice, and the Tiger and the Cardinal fan over here we're thinking back to like '68 and like some Gibson days and Denny McClain. See, we're on the same page here. You're
Rick,
the
you
only
can send
one
the check
that
to my house.
with your with your open capitalistic approach. I see where you're going with this. See, the problem is I'm with Paul.
Right.
That's why they're called extracurricular activities. You don't go to high school to play baseball. You go to get an education, and your extracurricular is the sport. When you go to college and
Are
you're
you comparing
getting,
high school to college?
Oh no, I'm about to make my point right here because you act like they're not getting paid. The hell they're not getting paid. 4 years full ride education at University of Michigan is probably well over $600,000 for the 4 years, right?
I believe it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how are they not getting paid $500,000 or plus? Plus, if you're a big ass lineman and you're getting those feeding tables every day, you haven't put that into account. You haven't put into account tuition, books, room, board, food. They're making a shit ton of money, but nobody wants to talk about that. It's all, well, they should. They do this and that. No, they're playing a game. And the university is providing them a stepping stone to make a really good living if they're good enough to do that. Their exposure, their everything that they get by going to that school. So I'm with Paul on that. I don't think there's an argument for that. I do understand both sides of it, but my God, if you're going to one of these prestigious colleges for football, you're getting a lot of money in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Just not in your wallet per se, but your parents sure as hell appreciate it. I promise you that.
Yeah. Well, that's assuming that you graduate and you know what the hell what degree you got. Did I get a degree? What's that say, Dad? Can you read that?
Which also brings me to another point real quick. These kids, I think, when they take these scholarships, need to make something in that scholarship contractually binding. How many kids are we seeing? All right, but I'm just talking about the holdouts on the bowl games and stuff now. We're having way too many of those. All right. Mm-hmm. They should have to pay back that year's tuition if they're going to sit out of a game as a healthy scratch. That's just my opinion.
There, dude. This is way above my pay grade.
No, Paul knows what I'm talking about. These last 2 years, when you get these juniors or sophomores that are getting drafted high, right, Ralph?
Mm-hmm. Right. Okay.
So they go to these bowl games and they choose to sit out of the game and not play with their team. Yeah. Mm-hmm. See, you've been away for a little bit. They can
actually choose that?
Oh, they do. They do all the time now. So they don't get hurt in their last game. Yeah. So my dad had a great point. He was like, they should put it in the contract. If you sit out as a healthy scratch during that game, then pay back that year's tuition once you get your NFL contract.
Exactly.
I think it's fair.
Yeah, that's
because the sponsors that do these bowls, they're sure as hell expecting big names with these big schools to draw attendance. And now all these kids are sitting out.
They don't expect fans to come and say, "Hey, look, there's that guy that's so great sitting on the bench over there."
Right, and he's not even
Johnny,
hurt.
that could be you one day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We get to watch next year's freshmen and sophomores play. It's more like a glorified scrimmage at that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, let me ask you something, you guys, because you're much more in tune. How many players on a Division I football team? How many? What's the roster? Is there a limit to the roster, or is there?
There
What's
is,
the
but
average?
I don't know. I'd say it's
Okay.
probably
50?
80 to 100
Oh, 80?
on the roster. Yeah.
Okay, so how many scholarships? Let's say of the starting team. Let's pick the starting team. What do you got? 22 players plus
22,
the kicker.
11 on both sides. They're all fully scholarshiped. Both sides.
All of them are fully
I
scholarship.
would
What
promise you the starters, 22. Yeah.
full rides?
Full rides in football for sure. Baseball,
Okay.
not even close.
Okay, no, well, let's stick to football just for
Okay.
Basketball probably pretty
Just for
close.
sh-
Yeah.
Yep.
just
Yep.
for shits and giggles. Okay.
Maybe one or two
22.
walk-ons that haven't earned it yet.
Mhm.
Okay, so aside from the 22, how many of the other 40 that are left over, whatever, have scholarships?
I'm telling you, in football, it's 95% are full ride scholarships in these D1s.
Yeah.
That's because of
I've
all the
heard-
money they're getting out of the revenue in football.
Right.
Yep.
So how many of that? I've heard horror stories, and I'm not sure if this is true because that a lot of these guys, when they're studs, they don't really have to attend classes like the other kids and shit.
Absolute truth. 1000% true.
That is the truth.
Absolute truth.
Yeah. So I say to myself, well, they're getting paid in an education. What kind of education are you giving them?
Yeah. Hey, that's on the university.
See, that's my
I
argument
understand where you're
against them.
going.
You see?
Yep.
Yeah.
No. You're giving them, wait a minute. You're paying them. You're not educating them, dude. You're not educating them. They're not going to class. They're not learning that. But let me get your take on this, Paul. I see some of these guys being interviewed, these pro athletes being interviewed. Dude, some of them can't even, I mean,
Nope.
it's awful. Yeah. And they all say the same thing. Well, yeah.
Hi,
It's
Mom.
like, what are you kidding me? And you graduated with a 4-year degree. What in what?
No.
Cavemen.
Most of them don't graduate.
They
That's
don't
my
go
whole
4
point.
years,
They're
yeah.
leaving after 2 and 3 years, which again should be part of the scholarship stipulations. Stop letting these kids leave early then. You're
Mhm.
investing in them. That's what a scholarship is. Why are you letting them leave after 2 years? Why are you letting them leave after 3 years? Make them obligate the scholarship. Run full term on the scholarship. It's 4 years.
So when you sign a 4-year scholarship, you're not committed to those 4 years. Is that what you're saying?
Nope. Not one of them, no. And the stars you're speaking of never stay 4 years. Never.
Yeah.
And a very small handful don't even go to college.
Exactly.
Not
Yeah,
necessarily football,
right.
but yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I
they
mean,
go
yeah,
straight
high
to
school. People skip
Mhm.
college now. High school basketball, that's LeBron. I mean, LeBron was one.
Yeah. Well,
Exactly.
let's talk about that because some of them skip college. Now we're going to talk about the fact that they don't get paid. These kids go through college. And of course, the argument of the NCAA is, well, we're going to pay them in the form of education. I think that's a bunch of crock. Okay.
Right,
That's
right.
just a way of saying them. We don't want to pay them. We don't want to pay them actual money.
Yeah. I know.
Now comes the situation, Rick, and talk to us, you and Paul, because I know nothing
Yep.
about this, very little about what they call the NIL. So if you're a parent out there and you got a kid that you're thinking about going to college and he's a stud or whatever, this is a whole new ballgame.
It's
right?
brand new. Yeah,
Okay.
it's brand new. It's
Tell
uncharted
everybody what
waters.
the
Thank you,
NIL
video
is.
games, for this.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's going to get choppy. It's going to get dicey. Hopefully they can perfect it to some degree, but there's so many downfalls to this. I don't even know where to start on this other than I don't mind that you can use your name, image, likeness if companies outside of the university are using you to sell their product. That's free enterprise. That's capitalism. I'm fine with that. Good. Great.
That's on the player. Yeah.
That's on the player. They need to go out
Yeah.
and do it. The problem I have is now you're talking about recruiting going to a whole nother level. Because let's say a Wyoming, WAC conference, decent school, has a shot at a big recruit, right? And they're in the running because the kid loves the school, parents love the school, blah, blah, blah. How many businesses out in Wyoming are going to be able to pay him NIL money like in the millions? Let's say versus a Los Angeles school.
I got to stop you right
Right.
there because I think most people, 9.5 out of 10 people, have no idea what NIL is. Let me run this short clip
Okay.
And then I want you to comment and make pretend you are talking to the lowest common denominator, which is me.
I am you. I know. I got that. All right.
Yeah, coach. I think, yeah. All right. So let's run this clip, and then you explain to dumb idiots like me what NIL is and why it's so important, why it's changing the whole landscape of sports. Okay, here we go.
Help me understand how NIL fits into sort of the larger argument.
NIL, for the benefit of those watching, are the rights to exploit an athlete's name, image, and likeness.
Hey, folks, welcome back. So you just saw a clip about the NIL, all right? Name, image, and likeness. We're going to close out this segment right now, and stay tuned for part 2 of this segment. And Rick and Paul, because I really don't know much about this. I can look at it from a legal standpoint because I practiced law very poorly for like 12 years. I hated every minute of it. But they're going to give you're going to learn all about NIL. And if you're a parent, you need to listen to what's going on because this is changing the face of collegiate sports. Am I right, Rick? Yes or no?
Absolutely, yes.
All right. So let's close this out. It's been a pleasure. Paul, thank you so much for coming on. We're going to have you. Let's do the second part of this very, very soon. Paul's in St. Louis, beautiful city. Love it, man. We're going to get out there soon.
Come on over.
Go catch some Cardinals
wherever.
games. Yeah. And Rick, the Vanilla Gorilla, my co-host, you're in Ohio.
Columbus.
You guys have a team in Ohio? You have a baseball team in Ohio?
No, Blue Jackets, but we have the best AAA park there is in baseball. It was actually ranked top 10 in baseball, period. So Huntington Nash, it's for the Clippers. It's phenomenal.
You know what? I love minor league games.
It's a blast.
I love them.
Yep.
I really, really do. Anyway, guys, good to see you. You have any closing comments? Paul, anything you want to say before you leave?
Not on this episode, or not on this part.
No,
maybe
you're
the next
good.
one.
All right.
Yeah,
Rick?
I'm good.
Yes. I don't know what to say, Coach.
Yeah.
NIL. Nil. I bid nil.
Yeah. How did
I thought that was a card bid. Nil. All right.
Yeah.
That's
these
spades,
are the kids that are getting education and 4-year education. They can't even.
That's right.
Hey, folks, see you next time. From Life Sports, Music, and Beer, this is Ralph, Rick, and Paul. See you soon. Thanks for listening to part 1 of our 2-part series. We hope you'll tune into part 2, where we discuss the new name, image, and likeness regulation that's taking college sports by storm and how it can affect your kids at every level from high school to college. Ring the bell and click on the like and subscribe buttons below, and we'll let you know when it drops. Until then, remember, we all have a story or an experience to share. We're waiting for yours. See you then.
On behalf of everyone from Life, Sports, Music, and Beer, we thank you for tuning in. If you've got that story to tell, comment below. Smash that like and subscribe button. And don't forget to hit that bell so you can hear other amazing stories.